This nuclear power plant cost $2.3 billion to build. It has never produced a single watt of electricity. 4 decades, billions spent, and nothing to show for it. And right now, with energy prices at record highs and the entire region scrambling for power, the Philippines is finally asking whether it's time to just turn it on. In this video, you're going to find out exactly why this plant was built, what stopped it from ever operating, and whether turning it on now would be the smartest energy decision the Philippines has ever made, or its most dangerous one. The economics are compelling, the safety questions are real, and the politics are unlike anything else in Southeast Asia right now. By the end, you'll have everything you need to decide for yourself. Should they flip the switch? To understand why the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant exists, or BNPP, and why it has never run, you have to go back to 1973. The Arab oil embargo hits the world, and the Philippines is exposed. The country has no domestic oil, no energy security, fuel prices spike, the economy strains, and Ferdinand Marcos, then ruling under martial law, decides the answer is nuclear power. In 1976, the contract goes to Westinghouse, a 621 megawatt pressurized water reactor on the Bataan Peninsula, about 100 kilometers west of Manila, projected to cost around $500 million. It would be the first nuclear plant attempted anywhere in Southeast Asia, a symbol of modernization, of a country reaching for the future. But almost immediately the project gets tainted. A former Marcos associate later faces allegations that a $17 million bribe secured the Westinghouse contract over a lower competing bid. Costs begin to climb. What was projected at around $500 million eventually lands at over $2 billion. By 1984, the plant is complete. The reactor dome stands, the equipment is installed. It is, by every physical measure, ready. Then, 2 things happen in rapid succession that seal the plant's fate forever. In April 1986, reactor number 4 at Chernobyl explodes, sending a radioactive cloud across Europe and rewriting the global conversation about nuclear safety. And 3 weeks later, the People Power Revolution removes Marcos from power. Corazon Aquino, the new president, mothballs the plant. It is never fueled, never commissioned, never turned on. The Philippines paid off the construction debt in 2007, 64.7 billion pesos in total debt service, and the amount of electricity the plant generated in all that time, exactly 0. The plant becomes something rare in the world of failed infrastructure. Not a ruin, but a preserved monument to what might have been. Governments study it again in 2008 and 2017. South Korean engineers assess it. Both times the conclusion is the same. Rehabilitation is technically feasible, and both times the political will to act doesn't follow. Until now. Do you understand why 2026 feels different from every previous attempt to revive the BNPP? You have to look at the war currently unfolding in the Middle East. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, the world's most critical energy artery has been severed. This isn't a potential crisis. It's happening right now. 1/5 of the global oil supply is stuck behind a naval blockade, and for a region like Southeast Asia that survives on net energy imports, the impact has been immediate and devastating. Imagine families in Cebu sweating through blackouts, fans silent, kids restless, while that dome just sits there, mocking them. With coal and imported fuel driving nearly half of the country's power generation, electricity costs, already some of the highest in Southeast Asia, are skyrocketing. The energy shock everyone warned about for decades is finally here, and it has exposed a structural vulnerability that can no longer be ignored. But while neighbours like Vietnam and Indonesia are just now signing deals with Russia and South Korea to build plants that won't be ready for a decade, the Philippines is sitting on a solution that is already finished. Analysts at NUS and NTU in Singapore have noted that this war has changed the math. We aren't just talking about green energy or cost curves anymore, we are talking about energy security. In a world where a conflict thousands of miles away can shut down your economy overnight, nuclear offers something solar and wind simply cannot: stable, predictable baseload. For a nation where demand is rising and the grid is under strain, that reliability is becoming critical. And for the Philippines, that survival is sitting just a few hours' drive from Manila, waiting for a decision. Few people in the Philippines have pushed harder for the BNPP than Congressman Mark Cojuangco, chair of the House Committee on Nuclear Energy, who in April 2026 travelled to Cebu City to make the case that nuclear isn't just a Luzon issue anymore. His argument to Cebu was blunt. The island could host a small modular reactor and supply power to the entire Visayas grid. If it doesn't, he warned, Negros might. The window for being first mover is open, but not forever. And the public is with him. A 2024 survey by social weather stations and the Department of Energy, covering over 7,200 respondents, found more than 70% of Filipinos in favour of nuclear power, with 65% wanting the government to own and operate the plant directly, rather than wait for private investors. Cojuangco's question to Cebu captures that mood exactly. Why wait for investors when the government can just do it itself? So what does the economic case actually look like? Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power, KHNP, began a full technical and economic feasibility study in January 2025. Their preliminary estimates put rehabilitation at between $1 and $1.2 billion. For context, that's roughly 1/3 of what it would cost to build equivalent new coal capacity from scratch. Napocor made the same calculation back in 2013 and reached the same conclusion. That ratio has only improved as coal costs rise. The Gulf News analysis of the energy economics is worth sitting with. Renewable energy has gotten dramatically cheaper. Global solar is at around 4 cents per kilowatt hour. Wind is similar. But renewables are intermittent. Solar produces nothing at night. Wind is variable. To match BNPP's reliable, round-the-clock 620 megawatts with solar and wind, the Philippines, an archipelago hit by typhoons with peak evening demand, would need to overbuild capacity 3 to 4 times over and layer on expensive battery storage. The system costs balloon. Nuclear, by contrast, delivers steady baseload that actually allows renewables to function without expensive fossil fuel backup. There's also a technical argument that tends to get overlooked. The BNPP's Westinghouse pressurized water reactor design is not experimental or untested. Identical twin plants are running safely today in South Korea, in Slovenia and in Brazil. The United States is operating reactors older than Bataan, including 3 Mile Island, which is now being prepared for a potential restart. With major regulatory and grid hurdles still to clear, even with long-term buyers like Microsoft already lined up, the design works. The question is whether this particular plant sitting idle for a generation can be safely brought back. According to Cojuangco, the answer is yes, and faster than any alternative. He estimates it could be operational within 4 years. Building a new plant takes 6 to 7 years minimum. The Philippines needs 1,200 megawatts of nuclear power online by 2032 under its National Energy Plan. BNPP is the only realistic path to that number. But here is what the revival advocates tend to minimize, and it's a big part of why this plant has sat untouched for 40 years. The Bataan plant sits within 18 kilometers of active fault systems. The Philippines isn't just seismically active, it sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The IAEA has made it clear. Before a single rod is fueled, the country needs updated seismic studies that account for a post-Fukushima world. A coastal nuclear plant in an earthquake zone isn't a hypothetical risk. It is a documented reality that the world has already seen go wrong. Then there's the analog versus digital problem. This plant was built with 1970s technology. Its pipes, valves and pumps have sat dormant in the salt air. While South Korean engineers estimate a rehabilitation cost of around $1 billion, the Philippine Department of Energy warns that the real price tag could balloon to $2.3 billion. Why the massive gap? Because retrofitting a decaying analog time capsule to meet 2026 safety standards isn't a repair job, it's a total reconstruction. That billion-dollar uncertainty isn't just a rounding error, it's the central question hanging over the entire project. And even if you fix the tech, where do you put the waste? Finding a geologically secure disposal site in a country of 7,000 islands, all of which are prone to volcanic or seismic activity, is a serious challenge for any engineer. As of April 2026, the newly formed regulator, Philatom, is still struggling to get off the ground. The laws were signed in 2025, but the actual rules for licensing haven't even been written yet. Right now, the safety oversight exists entirely on paper. Finally, the elephant in the room, a Marcos project being finished by Marcos Jr. For many Filipinos, it's not just steel, it's a scar from martial law days. Is this the ultimate vindication of a family's vision, or the ultimate repeat of a multi-billion-dollar mistake? That dimension doesn't make the reactor any more or less safe, but it makes the conversation around it one of the most charged political debates in the country today. There is something quietly haunting about this place, a machine built to power a nation, standing complete and untouched for 40 years, not destroyed, not dismantled, just standing still. As if history itself couldn't decide what to do with it. The economics say restart it, the engineering says it's possible, the public says they want it, and yet here it still stands, silent, while the country it was meant to serve pays some of the highest electricity prices in the region and burns coal to keep the lights on. My own view, the Philippines cannot afford to let sentimentality, in either direction, make this decision for them. Neither the nostalgia of those who see Bataan as a symbol of national ambition, nor the trauma of those for whom it represents everything that went wrong under Marcos. This is an infrastructure question that deserves an engineering answer, with the safety scrutiny that answer demands. If the KHNP study comes back clean, and Philatom is built into a regulator with real independence and real teeth, turn it on. But do it right, or don't do it at all. Here is the question I'll leave you with, and I genuinely want to know what you think. 40 years from now, which decision will the Philippines regret more? Turning it on, or never having tried? If this kind of story interests you, the places where architecture, engineering and history collide, there's more on this channel worth your time. A new video drops every week, and they're all built to last. If that's the kind of thing you're looking for, you know what to do.